All right, so it's going to be a review of Deadpool and Wolverine, directed by Sean Levy. It's the third Deadpool movie. I just saw it; it just came out. I just saw it yesterday on Thursday. I like Deadpool. Deadpool as a character. I think he's fun. I had a lot of fun with that first Deadpool movie. The second one, not so much. I felt like a lot of the jokes were obvious, especially the references, and I didn't really care that much for the story with Cable and the kid and stuff like that. But I'll see how I feel about this movie in a second. I'm probably gonna spoil at the very least some of the cameos and stuff like that, so you've been warned. So in this, once again, we got Ryan Reynolds playing Wade Wilson, Deadpool. He wants to be an Avenger in the beginning, but he gets rejected and things like that. He's having issues internally. He quit being Deadpool, things like that. But the TVA from Loki, the Loki series on Disney Plus, they end up taking him and saying they want him to be part of the main universe, but his universe is already kind of dying off, and they're going to speed up that process and get rid of it and his friends and everything. Obviously, he doesn't want that to happen. The reason why his universe is going away is because at the end of Logan, Wolverine died, and Wolverine, I guess, is the anchor person for that universe. So without that person, the universe is just going to die off. So he uses that teleporter thing to go around, find other find another Wolverine to bring to his universe, so it won't die off or won't be destroyed by them. And once again, Wolverine played by Hugh Jackman. There's also a cameo of somebody else playing as Wolverine. I won't talk about that. I won't spoil that one. But he ends up taking back a Wolverine that turns out to be the worst Wolverine. He let down his world. He let down the X-Men, things like that. That's going to be revealed and touched on later. But they both end up getting sent to the Void. And in the Void, they have to deal with this pretty all-powerful mutant, Cassandra Nova, played by Emma Corrin. They have to deal with her, who's so powerful she could even probably, most likely kill them. And they have to find some way to work together and all that to be able to get back to save Deadpool's universe. So I really like this movie. I feel like when it comes to this movie, I feel the way that people felt about No Way Home. Whereas No Way Home is just pure nostalgia for most of it. Really, it didn't kind of win me back until the third act and things like that. Whereas this one, I think, was more clever with its nostalgia, clever with its writing, and the characters are great. Once again, performances, great. I actually really like this villain, Cassandra Nova. Emma Corrin plays her. I really like that character. She was really powerful, and I like the moments that they had with her. She felt like a legitimate threat in a movie where the main characters are pretty much unkillable. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Ryan Reynolds, he really does feel like he was born to play this character. I mean, he's just so good at it. There's a reason why, even in his other movies, he kind of starts to feel like Deadpool, right? He's really found his stride with this character. I think him and Wolverine, they have really good dynamic. Whenever I've seen Wolverine and Deadpool interact in other things, it's pretty much the same. Like, Deadpool makes a lot of jokes and won't shut up. And he kind of fanboys over Wolverine, and then Wolverine is just telling him to shut up and takes any opportunity to put his claws on him, right? And I think that dynamic really works. But with that antagonism, there's the arc of them becoming closer, and I thought that really worked too. I really like seeing these two together. They fight a couple times. That was cool. Pretty much all the fight scenes in this, even though there are no stakes in most of them, they're really cool. And with the nostalgia and the cameos, right, which you would think would just be, just kind of a cheap thing, like it is in a lot of these kinds of things, especially when it comes to the multiverse. What they did here felt a lot more special because I didn't know this going into the movie. This movie is actually more of a love letter / farewell to the Marvel Fox stuff. You got Johnny, Chris Evans coming back as Johnny Storm, Human Torch from the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies. Then you have Wesley Snipes come back as Blade, Jennifer Garner's Elektra. Obviously, you got X-23, the daughter from Logan, came back. Obviously, a little bit older. You also have kind of a somewhat deep cut when you have Channing Tatum come to this movie as Gambit with that terrible accent, but that was kind of part of the joke. Negatives. Because this is a nostalgia-driven fan service movie, not to say that it's not clever in its own way, not to say that it doesn't have a story at all, but let's be honest, the story is a vehicle for the fan service, less so than No Way Home. I feel like that was more of a criticism with that, but here is still kind of the same thing. It's a bit contrived in moments. It's kind of convoluted and a little bit messy when it comes to the TVA and stuff like that. Clever, but at the end of the day, like I said, it's a device so that we can get the Fox stuff in here, the Fox characters in here. I mean, because there's a lot. Like you have Sabretooth show up, Toad, Pyro. He's a kind of important character until he's not. Um, there's the other Deadpools that show up. Like when they showed up, it kind of felt like, well, we just want this because we want the other Deadpools in this, right? Like, yeah, they were mentioned earlier, but when that fight happens, even though it was a really cool fight, as all the fights in this are, uh, it did kind of feel like that fight didn't need to happen, right? Where like if you take those Deadpools out of the movie, the only thing you'd be missing out on is a cool fight scene, right? And that goes into what's probably my last negative here. Um, these two characters, I kind of mentioned it earlier, they're unkillable, even more so than other movies I've seen Deadpool in and Wolverine in. They are just getting cut, stabbed, everything, and perfectly fine, right? It's to the point where why are they running away from the when the Deadpool starts shooting at them and they hide behind the truck? Why? Or Deadpool's using one of the other Deadpools as a shield against the bullets. Why? Right? They get shot up, they get stabbed and stuff like that. They do get captured at one point, but for the most part, they feel completely unkillable and invincible. And the only time that there's any stakes in this is when they're going up against the villain because she is just that all powerful, right? She can turn a person's body into mush, a pile of guts, right? Even they wouldn't be able to survive that. That's the only time there's really, real stakes when it comes to these two characters. It does have this touching element to it where it's not just cameos and references, where there's a purpose to it. And yes, it's nostalgia, but it's done in a way that I think is more clever and ends up being having more of an impact. All that nostalgia aside, you have two really strong main characters here that have a really great dynamic. Deadpool and Wolverine. I love watching them interact and fight and all these other things, and they had really funny moments with each other pretty much the whole way through. So even though I do have little issues here and there, mainly with it being once again a fan service led movie, I still think it's the best of that, or the best one of these kinds of movies can be. Definitely, let's get into some standalone stuff. Let's get some characters in here. We got the new Fantastic Four. I think they cast that already. So yeah, let's get into some other stuff that isn't just isn't just an easy win, easy money, because people will come for the fan service. Uh, but anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm giving this Beyond Awesome. Definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year. And yeah, that's Deadpool and Wolverine. We're done.